Okay, opening up the October 11th Township Committee meeting at 7:34. If you could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Debbie, could you call the roll, please?
Committeeman Dorsey.
Here.
Committeeman Maringolo.
Here.
Committeeman Paserchia.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Ray.
Present.
Mayor Schuler.
Here. First up are some appointments. Mayoral appointment with approval of Township Committee. Joanna Askey for the Library Board of Trustees, taking over an unexpired term of 12/31/2017. Steve Gruber, Phyllis Fast, and Kathy File for the Green Team Advisory Committee, with a term ending December 31st, 2018. Could I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Committeeman Dorsey.
Yes.
Committeeman Maringolo.
Yes.
Committeeman Paserchia.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray.
Yes.
Mayor Schuler.
Yes. Liaison reports. I'll start with you.
All right, DPW. They are still filling potholes right now while the weather's still good, so if there's a pothole you want filled or addressed, I believe isn't there a link on the town website?
Yes.
Where you can report a pothole, and that'll get sent right to DPW, and hopefully they can put it on their list. The good news is, and I thank all the people in town for doing this, they sent another load down, a foam pack of styrofoam, and they're now up to, basically we recycled 5.46 tons of styrofoam this year, which is outstanding, so thank everybody out there for doing that. They're sending another load of fluorescent bulbs down to the county to be recycled. That'll give our total up to 2,560 bulbs this year. So for everybody who doesn't know, if you have fluorescent bulbs, they're the long ones or those short ones, I call them look like pigtails. You can put them, they recycle them down at the DPW. They also do car batteries, tires and things like that, so keep that in mind. Dennis, you want to zoom in here? We have pictures of the hardworking guys down at the DPW. And this is Mayor Schuler's, one of his pet projects. They're doing crack sealing. We rented the machine for 2 weeks this year, and our guys are trained to use it themselves, so we don't need to contract it out anymore. So they're crack sealing all the cracks on the roads, which will provide more lifespan of the roads because the water and dampness doesn't get in there and cause more leaks. So if you see them out there in the next 2 weeks doing this, that's what's going on. Thank you.
No reports.
Okay.
Oh, one more thing, and there's plenty of mulch available. I forgot to tell you, so if you want to go get it, go down there, and they'll deliver on Fridays. Just make an appointment. Thank you.
I just have to say, I'm amazed that there's 5 tons of styrofoam.
Yeah, I know.
That's amazing to me.
How big is that?
That's a lot. And just the tipping fees alone, we're not paying to dump on that.
Yep.
Forget about the environmental impacts.
So the Cooper Tombstone project that the HPAC committee is sponsoring is moving towards completion. They've put the pathway in, they've set the stones, they have put some vegetation around them. The only thing left, I believe, is to set the plaque describing the cenopaths, which is what they are called. They're not tombstones, just to be clear. I guess just finish it, clean up, and finalize the project. So it should be finished in the next couple of weeks. And for anybody that sees it, let's keep in mind that this is a historical site that celebrates one of the first families to Long Hill, the Coopers and some others, and that's really the nature of that project.
Thank you.
And please thank the HPAC committee, because I know this is something they've worked on for many years, so project well done. So the mayor and I attended since the last meeting we attended two. So two town halls regarding the sewer sale referendum. And they were sparsely attended, but they were attended, and there was some spirited questions, and I thank the residents who came to those. But I can say that I'm a little bit disappointed. There is nobody in this room right now. I know some people are watching at home. I think it's important that the people who have questions, and we have one more Township Committee meeting, and we have two more, I believe, Mr. Mayor? Two more town halls. I think it's important that you come to those meetings so your questions can be asked and answered on the record. I think, unfortunately, there's a lot of misunderstanding and misinformation in small groups out there. I know there's a private group that has two upcoming meetings. I think it would be very helpful if that group in particular were to come to the two town halls we have left, and to we have one more Township Committee meeting, October 25th, I guess it is. So have your questions asked and answered on the record, in public, on live TV. The link to your questions and answers will be on the website, so anybody who wants to hear the questions and the answers can do so. Just an example, there was one resident who brought up, made a statement at the town hall the other day that there were towns in the immediate area that do not have a COA obligation and they will not build any COA housing. I can absolutely tell you that is categorically 100% untrue. I know the mayors in all of the surrounding towns. I spoke with several of them today. I was speaking with one as we started the exec session back there just earlier. Some of the negotiations have been finalized, some of them are in process, but the numbers for each of these towns that surround us, in many cases, are way higher than ours. In one case, Chatham Borough, I can say that one because that one has been finalized. That one's a bit lower than ours. But Chatham Borough has an obligation, and they also have a, I was gonna say currency overlay, that's what I use, but it's township overlay, and the danger of an overlay, Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, even though you're obligated to do a certain number based on what you agreed to, it opens up the possibility for more. And I think that's why we did not go in that direction.
That's correct, and you lose control over the exact location and number and density and things like that you can negotiate if you make it part of the original settlement agreement.
Right, so my only point is, it was a valid question, if it had been asked, honestly, in a question form, but it wasn't, it was a statement. The fact is, that is completely untrue. Every town in this area, every town has an obligation. In some cases, they're still negotiating. In some cases, they've already settled. Like we're trying to do, it's not finalized, right? Obviously, it still has to go before the judge. But I don't want anybody out there thinking that Long Hill is special relative to other towns. Every town has a co-obligation, fair share. Jack, I think you can confirm that.
And many of the surrounding towns have a much greater obligation than we do.
By a multiple of 10.
Yes.
So I think that's important to keep in mind, and I really would like those questions asked and answered here, so everybody can hear those questions. So in that regard, one more thing I wanted to say. Oh, and I Jack, hopefully I'm not speaking out of school. One particular area, I think, was up for discussion the other night during the Millington offsite with the Morris County EDC. And Jack, could you provide some clarification of that property, which we call the Tifa property, as to when it was included? And Matt, sorry.
No, that's fine. I was gonna ask a question. anyway.
When was that assigned? What was assigned there? And how it applies to even today?
As far back as the 1995 master plan, which I believe was adopted in early 1996, that property was mentioned for mixed-use development with 12 units per acre, which is exactly what is included in the fair share housing settlement agreement. So for at least the last 32 years, it's been mentioned in the master plan as a site for mixed-use housing with 12 units per acre.
I don't do math, but I've caught that. It's 22 years, not 32.
22 years. That's
But-
why I'm a lawyer.
But to be clear, what we proposed, frankly, is what every township committee has agreed to. Every township committee.
Well, the planning board.
Right, but I'm saying it's been there the whole time.
So we didn't offer it up.
So no member of the township committee over the last 20-plus years has ever objected to what that master plan said.
Well, I have a second question, Jack might be able to answer this. I've also heard rumors that if we just add on to Lounsbury, that'll nullify our obligation.
Well, there's several problems with that. The first one is that we can't add any more senior citizen units because we're capped at the maximum number that we already have. The second problem is that we would have to include in the agreement the financing for that project, which would require the township to promise to bond to construct any addition to Lounsbury. The third problem is there's probably not enough room there to satisfy the entire obligation.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to consent agenda. Resolution 17266 through 17276. Does anyone have anything they need?
I just have a question. This might piggyback on what Bruce said earlier on 17-270 about more money for the graveyard.
Yeah. So the reason there is a change order there is because the original design of the walkway from Central was further north than where it is. And when we put in the sidewalks, we raised the grade along Central. And what happens now is to ensure that that pathway from the sidewalk down to the installation does not exceed 5%. We had to move the walkway to the south and thus made it longer. Right?
No, I understand that. I'm just thinking that, I saw it, they did a nice job, but if I did this at my house, it would be a fraction of the price to do a walkway, that square footage, and some bushes, and I can't, the tombstones, you could put them up. I just don't understand how it costs so much, but it's too late now.
Yeah, and then that was the reason, because we asked them to move it south so they would not interfere.
Oh, no, I'm not even talking about
Not implement more than a 5% grade for
I'm
handicap
talking about the change, I'm
access.
talking about the overall project. If I called the landscaper and said, hey, look, I need X amount of pavers, whatever, X amount square foot for pavers, I don't think they're gonna charge me $30,000 to do it, and put those little bushes in they put in. So it's still,
Yeah, there was pavers, there was grading, there was the installation, there was the landscaping.
it's the same thing they would do at my house.
Yeah.
For probably $5,000, but that's a whole nother story. That ship's
Yeah,
sailed.
I think if they put this installation at your house, it would be a similar price.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I mean, the last time I had pavers, you're looking anywhere between 12 and 20 bucks a square foot.
you gotta go to the right guys.
So, well, maybe I don't know the right guys, but.
I know a lot of people, but
And this was publicly bid, and this was the lowest
Yeah.
cost.
oh, no, I understand it was all publicly bid, I just don't, out of control, but I'll leave it at that.
Okay, you good?
I'm done.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns or anything need to be pulled? If not, can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes on everything but 17-270. If I can do that.
Committeeman
You have to pull
Maringo?
that out. If you let
Oh, well, I'll pull it out, I vote no on that one, but I'll agree to everything else.
Yeah,
So
consent
we-
agenda
Pull it
requires
out.
Right,
unanimous.
are we gonna pull it?
You have to pull it if he's
Yep.
voting no.
So the movement is less 17
So the
to
mo-
So can I-
right,
you know what,
the
let me
move is
rephrase
for
the motion.
17266 to 17269 and 17271 through 17276.
Okay. Committeeman Dorsey? Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Committeeman Maringo?
Yes.
Committeeman Searchier?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray?
Yes.
Mayor Schuler?
Yes.
All right.
Now, can I get a motion for 17-270?
So moved?
Second.
Wait, hold on 1 second.
270. Oh,
Who motioned on that? Who
Bruce.
seconded? Committeeman Dorsey?
no.
Committeeman Maringo?
Yes.
Committeeman Searchian?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray?
Yes.
Mayor Schuler?
Yes. Discussion items. Shade Tree Commission requesting to hire a landscape architect. Do we have any?
I think that's the open space. Is that the open
Was it
space
the open
committee?
space or Shade
Yeah.
Tree?
Yeah.
Open space.
Open space?
Yeah.
Okay, apologies, that's open space.
Yep.
Do you have any background on that?
No, other than what was included in the packet, I think they would like to have a landscape architect as a sort of go-to person for, you know, a number of the projects that are currently ongoing in town. For example, the Vision Committee. I think they feel that if they were to hire somebody, there are so many projects that it's too much to ask somebody to volunteer time, and they would rather hire somebody.
Is the planning board engineer available to do that job? Saying,
No, so you have to be a landscape
oh,
architect.
well,
Yeah.
he can do that too.
So that's that's what they've asked to.
So is it anything besides the, any particular projects that they're thinking of coming up? I mean, because Division Committee, we met with a couple of firms that do that sort of thing, and we've kind of got them in a holding pattern until we know what's going on.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions about this? I mean,
Yeah, I don't see the need for this at this point. I mean, we're not ready to move forward on any projects that I think would require, you know, the professional services. You know, we did put some bids out for the park across the street. I think once we, you know, have a better handle on the definition of the boundaries there, I think, you know, maybe we could consider it then, but I don't think at this time. I think it's premature.
Yeah.
I agree.
This is just something that's been discussed for a number of months now at the Open Space Committee, and and they provided. I asked them to provide a rationale, and I tend to agree with Bruce that it's premature at this point. We should consider it as we're moving forward.
Yeah, and I would agree. Look, at some point, it may be necessary. We don't know, right? But cart before the horse,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yep.
I agree.
okay, thank you. Solicitor ordinance, Jack, you were going to put something together for us for, I believe it was no solicitation
Well-
or no knock?
I was gonna get some sample no-knock ordinances together, which were in the packet. I guess the threshold question is whether you want to do it at all, and the second question is whether any of these, I tried to get some different style ordinances, whether any of them appeal to you. The Saddle River ordinance is the simplest. It simply says if you put up a no canvassing sign, you know, people have to go away. Others have lists of people on the no-knock list, you know, maintained by the clerk. I guess there are advantages to that because, you know, when they come get their permit, they could be given a copy of the no-knock.
Yeah.
But it's up to you.
We do that through the PD, so
Right, okay,
that would be more for them
to do, yeah, so,
additional thing, and
yeah, so,
it's annoying.
you know, if you want to do it, maybe the Saddle River one makes the
We
most
can
sense,
do a
at least to see
combination.
whether it works.
You could do a combination, couldn't you? Put a no-knock registry, because I might not want to put a no solicitor sign on my house, but be on the registry, or some people might want to do both.
Yeah.
Well, but I think you need the sign on the house because,
Oh, you need to have the sign in the house?
yeah.
Even if we have a registry?
I mean, I think even like in one of them, for a nominal fee, you can buy a sticker,
Yes,
and that might be something that.
right, an official township sticker.
Yeah,
Yeah, that way you don't get,
that way.
and I saw one of them put no larger than 1 square foot. That seems pretty, number one.
Your number one, Dennis?
Now, these ordinances are, for lack of a better phrase, legal as opposed to just changing the times.
Correct.
I mean, I think I'd be in favour. Definitely in favour of the no-knock ordinance, because this is a good way of addressing the concerns that we heard from residents. And I think I'm kind of with Matt as far as maybe I don't want to put a sign on my lawn, but a small kind of unobtrusive sticker that I could put on a, you know, an entryway, you know, window or something like that.
Yeah, you
that
see it in a
we
lot of
would supply.
businesses now.
Yeah.
That's right.
So,
And we could supply that.
Right.
For a pass-through cost.
Yeah.
I'll point out the obvious, when it's dark, especially Long Hill is a very dark town, you may not even see those stickers, you know, 8 o'clock at
But,
night.
but then you have your name on a list.
It's a double, it's like,
It's-
Right,
it's-
right.
it's
I mean, I think that would probably be helpful to the solicitor.
Yes.
Having a list that they can just say, you know, skip this and not walk, you know, an eighth of a mile up a person's driveway potentially, right? Only to see a no soliciting sign and come back. So, I mean,
Okay, look,
yeah, so hopefully, if you register, they hopefully don't even get to your door because you're on file. The only question I have about a registry is, do you make people renew at an interval? And if you don't, how do you deal with someone that moves out and the new owner might not mind solicitation? Or do we not care about that scenario?
I don't know if anybody would mind.
yeah, exactly.
yeah, I don't want to be offended.
Yeah.
Feel
That
left
could-
out.
That could be a selling point for the house.
Yeah.
No knock.
Solicitation free.
this house comes with a no knock,
Yeah.
got it. So Jack, this is your recommendation that this is the best we can do within the confines of the law,
Correct.
as opposed to saying, nope, sorry, we're gonna go with 9 to 5 PM and SOAS.
And get sued. The problem is there's so many public interest groups out there. There's the Rutgers Constitutional Law Clinic, there's the ACLU that are just itching to sue.
You know, as always, all problems lead back to lawyers.
No comment.
We got 2 more down there. Oh, wait a minute, 3 more down there.
I'm
least it-
surrounded by them.
Well, it turns out we're now in the majority.
Yes.
Well, I love lawyers, I have no problem with the legal profession.
So is everyone in agreement for both a list and the
stickers
signs
that we'll
and the
provide.
stickers or the
Yeah.
signs or
Yeah.
something?
A sticker that we would,
And we'll figure out
Yeah.
what kind of
Correct.
sign to
So
do.
we'll
Yep.
introduce that.
Is this
ordinance.
point of fact
Next
or
meeting.
opinion, Dennis? Can you save it to the end, please? Can you save it to the open public discussion?
Introduce it before you guys make a decision.
We're not making a decision, the resolution's coming next meeting, or ordinance is coming next meeting. So you can give us the comment now and we can still redirect, if you could. Thank you.
I think you were saying the Yankee game was starting.
Old business off-street parking ordinance amendment. So this, I guess, is a continuation from our discussion at the last meeting. We actually did have a discussion with the planning board last night and asked them to take a look at parking requirements in the downtown Sterling area, what can be done, what can they consider. One of the things that the planner mentioned was that there have been towns in an attempt to kickstart businesses in a specific downtown area, completely eliminated any parking requirements in the ordinances for those people, you know, for those businesses on a specific set of roads. So I don't know if anyone wants to have a discussion about anything, or?
I think, Mayor, one of the things that I'd like to do anyway is to suspend at least the parking requirements right now until we've had a chance to actually study it.
It's actually the B15 zone, I checked.
B15 zone, in the B15 zone,
Sterling.
which is
In downtown.
Okay.
downtown
I-
Sterling.
I think that may be the only B15 left,
All right.
since we have all the specific Millington
And
Can we just confirm that if we're referring to it?
We could just say
There's no
down,
other-
specifically or only
The
downtown.
Yeah,
B1, the B15 in downtown
downtown
Sterling, okay.
And, you know, given the time of the year, you know, I think it would be, it might be appropriate to suspend it for a period of 120 days, given that, you know, we have, November, December, January, and February.
So the motion is a moratorium for 120 days on site plan parking requirements
In the,
in the B15 zone in downtown Sterling to consider ordinance amendments.
yep. That would, and I would,
And I would second that.
I would make that
Do we
motion.
have any concerns about that as far as questions from the public regarding general traffic in the area that have been forwarded to the traffic committee?
No, I mean, I think all we're doing, there's only a certain number of parking spots there right now, and we're suspending the enforcement so we can start to look at it, but I don't think there's going to be an increase in traffic because of what we're doing.
And it'll still be subject to fire code, room
Well,
capacity
yeah.
requirements.
When I say traffic, I think the complaints that we received and sent onward to the traffic
Yeah.
advisory committee were in fact around parking in some of the side streets
but inside-
and the density of.
Yeah, but that's something that's been taken up specifically by that committee
And the
to look
park-
at which
And
which
to be
we're
fair,
on.
Brendan, I thought you were going here, because of the time of year, that problem goes away now because you won't have the outdoor patrons.
Yeah,
I mean, the businesses that are there, they're not going to have all those people going at,
So we have a motion on in a second, just so we
so
know.
I'm not that worried about that part. That will pick up in real,
But-
again, when the weather gets back.
yeah,
Sorry, Devin.
and that's something that's been discussed anyway within the committee, and the
Right.
committee will move forward with recommendations on that. But I don't see what we're doing here as creating any new traffic problems there.
Yeah, and actually, one of the businesses, I don't think they have a problem, the one that produces the main parking issues on Railroad, I don't think they have a parking issue. I think it's one of the Italian restaurant that's there that doesn't have enough parking per our ordinance. So I actually don't think this is an issue.
No.
So did we have a?
We have
Yeah,
a
motion
motion
and-
and vote.
Yeah,
Yep.
it kind of went right to the motion without anybody talking really about it, but, yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay.
But
Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes.
Committeeman Maringo?
Yes.
Committeeman Pizarro?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray?
Yes.
Mayor Schumer?
yes. New business. Anyone have any new business? Announcements.
Ever since Nancy arrived, this announcement list, so I don't know if it's Debbie doing this.
I have nothing to do with it, nope, it's all Debbie.
No, but I did mine on the fly.
Looking at your phone.
A reminder, October 17th, last day to register to vote. So please, 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 there's a referendum question on the ballot about the sewer sale. It's very important to the township. Please make sure you are registered to vote. October 28th, Friends of the Library shredding fundraiser from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Questions, email longhillfol@gmail.com. The Long Hill Senior Center rummage sale is October 14th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and October 15th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Flu shots are available October 18th at Town Hall. Residents, $25, non-residents, $35. No charge with a valid Medicare Part B card, and no appointment necessary. The Forest Tiger Tracks 5K race, October 29th, 7 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. at Central Middle School. This Sunday, Millington Downtown Day, October 15th, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. The Halloween Parade is October 22nd, 3 p.m., Cantor Park. And Obstacle Course Day is October 14th, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., pre-register on Community Pass. Do we know where that is?
Community Pass?
No.
No,
I think it's.
The
Oh,
obstacle
it's in the
course?
upper field. I think
At
that's what you
At
said.
Cantor Park.
Yes.
Also at Cantor Park.
Also, one more that I just wanted to mention that got removed is the trivia night for the library was canceled. I think it was scheduled for this Saturday.
Okay, so trivia night for this Saturday at the library has been canceled.
Mr. Mayor, can I just have an add-on? At Millington Downtown Day, NJ American Water will have a booth at the event. So bring your questions. They will be more than happy to answer them. There will be representatives from the Township Committee there as well.
Yep.
So if you want your questions answered by a Township Committee member as opposed to a representative from the private water company, feel free to ask one of the committee members that will be there.
And also, let me add, Tuesday, October 17th, 2 PM will be a sewer referendum Q&A session at Town Hall, and also Monday, October 30th at 10 AM. And with that, I will open the meeting to the public for remarks and statements pertaining to any matter, and I've been told I need to enforce the clicker.
So for Cornell Schuler's reign of office, that's 38 minutes. Is 38 minutes? No?
Wow. I'll lay it on its side and do it. Dennis.
A couple of days ago,
Name, for the record. We know you, Dennis.
you know who I am?
Put it on the record, sir. Put it on the record.
My name is Dennis Sandow, and I have lived for 42 years in Millington.
Thank you, Dennis.
A couple days ago, I think it was late in the afternoon, two kids, a boy maybe about 8 and a girl maybe about 6, knocked on my door and wanted to sell me popcorn. They weren't representing a religion, and they weren't political candidates. And my question is, which side of the law does that solicitation fall under? Are they required to register because they are in fact a commercial sale? If they don't register, how do they get the no-knock list? It's an area that ought to be defined.
Were these Cub Scouts we're
Right, the
talking
Cub
about?
Scouts.
Excuse me?
Were these Cub Scouts you're talking about?
I don't believe they were Cub Scouts. I think they were selling for some high school band or something, or, God, I didn't catch what their affiliation was.
They were 8. I don't
And
think
it
they
probably
sold
doesn't matter, as long as, unless they were
Food
religious, which we have an exclusion for. But I don't think that any other charitable is excluded.
Can we
Yeah,
have
charitable's excluded, but I think if we try to write exceptions in, the problem is that we can't just say local civic organizations like the Boy Scouts and Little League, because then we're discriminating against some other organizations. So I think we're better off just,
So these kids gotta go to police headquarters and get fingerprinted before they can sell popcorn door to door?
if it's for the Boy Scouts or the high school band, I don't think they do, because they're a charitable organization. It's commercial solicitors.
Well, except charity does not usually involve getting goods in return. And in this particular case, they were selling popcorn at an exorbitant price, but nonetheless, I would get popcorn in return. That's a commercial sale.
No, actually, there are a whole bunch of cases, Dennis, that deal with these other civic organizations, the ACLU selling things as part of their door-to-door to raise money. So,
Yeah, the Scouts sell popcorn.
Yes.
Did
To
you-
ra- to
6 or 8
raise
years
one of
old.
their biggest fundraisers.
Yeah.
These young kids were so innocent looking. They
Did-
didn't look like they were scouts.
Cub
with
Scouts.
Well, they would have been wearing
uniforms and
they would have been
trainings.
wearing a uniform,
if
though,
they
if
come
they
to
were
your
out
door
selling.
after we have this ordinance,
They should
call
have.
911.
Did you buy Dennis?
So, yeah, that was the question.
The other ones sneak around the back and burglarize you while the other two are up
Did you
front?
buy any popcorn? That's the question.
Excuse me?
Did you buy any popcorn from these?
I have to hold that a personal financial detail, which is not relevant.
Check his tax
To
returns.
to this conversation.
That's all.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis.
Dennis.
Oh, and I see a lot of rain coming our way.
I'm Lisa Lazar. I agree with Dennis. I think there should be an age limit on it. Anywhere under 18 should be allowed to sell without any type of harassment. It's a great experience. My son sold over $5,000 in Boy Scout popcorn throughout the town, and it developed him in many ways. So I think that children should be an exception to the rule. I have one other question. Is anybody looking at the economical forecast in regards to retirement savings, property taxes, the overall view of where the economy's going, what's gonna happen with these reverse mortgages, and how that's gonna bring foreclosures into town? Has anybody looked at that? And also, Governor Christie's getting ready to go out of office. Where is that gonna lead? Are they gonna keep those discounts for the seniors that are under the $88,000 wage? This could really affect the values of our homes, our property tax intake as a community, and I don't think a lot of people are looking at the entire economic viewpoint.
Well, I don't know if it's the purview of this committee, to be honest with you.
I believe, Ms. Lazar, you were directed to the tax assessor today by...
Yes.
Yes.
But he said to me in turn, I was in there speaking with him, and he told me I needed to take it up with you. So I'm kind of getting a little bit of a circle.
I mean, we can give you public information, I think, and Jack.
Right, but we
you
can't-
can always give me a little rope. You know, on the website, we put up a chart a couple of years back just to show you where the tax dollar goes. So 62 cents, and correct me if I have any of these numbers wrong, because it changed a little bit this year. 62 cents of every tax dollar goes to public education, 12 cents goes to the county, so you're up to 74. The municipal budget, around 8 cents, 7 cents, 8 cents is for local law enforcement. Then we have some statutory positions that add up to whatever. So amazingly, this well-regarded township committee you have in front of you ultimately controls about 15 cents, does that sound 15, 16 cents of your tax dollar? But yeah, but the statutory positions, I think, bring it down just a touch. In either case, my point is, there's a limit to what control we have. And I don't know what's going to happen depending on the gubernatorial race. I don't know what's going to happen to the 2% interest arbitration, the 2% property tax cap. Frankly, those questions have been asked. I don't know if both candidates have actually answered that question. I think we're very sensitive to the seniors here in Long Hill Township. We recognize that in some ways, the tax situation in Long Hill, where, what are we, 90 cents, Dennis, 90 cents comes from residents of the budget. Only 10 cents comes from ratables. That, commercial ratables, I apologize, and that is distinctly different than the surrounding towns. The general, like the Chathams, are about 80-20. Berkeley Heights is a little bit on the other side. They're 70-30, resident commercial. We've spoken to the mayor of Hanover. I think they're 50-50, but they have some big office things. I think we're all very sensitive to how this affects seniors.
It's not just about the seniors, it's also about the millennials. They're not purchasing homes. And the reason is they figured out 2%, 2%, 2%. And when I figured out 2% on $10,000 now, it was $45,000 when they hit the age 80. And I was like going, wow, I don't think Social Security is gonna go up that much.
You know, I'm probably going to get a dirty look from the clerk when I give you this information, but the last 8 years, it was at 2%, as you know, 2%,
Yes.
which, oh my God, look what it compounds out to. The 10 years before that, the 10 years before the last 8 years, it was a 7% per annum. which the compound effect of that is 100%. So statewide, I mean, it could vary from town. So from, what are we talking? We're in 17, 18. From 2000 to 2010, the state average increase in property taxes was 100%.
I mean, this township committee has done what it can in the past 6 years that I've been on the committee.
Yes, and
Taxes
I
have
do
gone on
see- I do see that.
8.6%, right,
Yes.
in 6 years. So
Yes.
we've been trying to hold the line because we're taxpayers too, and we understand the difficulties involved, and we're trying to do what we can. But if the new governor takes away some of the tools that we have to keep costs down, if we lose what little state aid we get, I know the school lost a ton of aid from the state a couple of years back. That was a huge hit on taxes. That you need to think about who you vote for governor, quite honestly.
He crossed the line, I didn't cross the line.
I
And I would
didn't, I
add 2
didn't
more
make any
years.
other suggestion than
I've
to
been-
think about it.
I've been on the township committee for 8 years, and the cumulative tax increase during those 8 years is about 12 and change. And to put that in perspective, there was one proposed budget back in 05, 06. Dennis, you're older than me, you might remember this one. There was a bare bones proposed budget of 13% in 1 year.
Yes.
In 06, in 1 year, which is
Yeah, I was around for that one.
more than the 8 years that this committee has been working together.
And I understand, but I think eventually, if they keep creeping up, it's almost like the town, and I know yous have cut a lot, and I see it, and I know yous are doing your best. But when you start looking at the average salaries and where people are starting out, it's a whole different world out there than when we started out. You're not gonna get those young people into this community, which then you know what problems that causes. We're not
Well,
gonna
we're
go
seeing
into
the
that.
issue, right?
Yeah.
With the school population in town, I think, and we have 2 representatives, the K-8, I apologize, went from like 1,200 and change down to 750, 770. It's back up to 850. 1050 to 750, now it's back up to 850. The high school's gone from 2,400 to 2,100, something like that. And that speaks to, we're not getting that younger generation coming into these towns. And it's not just Long Hill, it's all these towns.
But their
Yes.
taxes go up even as the enrollment goes down. That's the point where you have to put pressure. The public has to put
Yeah,
pressure.
but that's a discussion for the school board that we can't do
Right.
anything
Yeah,
about.
unfortunately, this is not the.
I know, but
I mean-
I'm just wondering if somebody's taken a look, because I know that everybody belongs to a different, part of it, which you belong to the school district, so I'm wondering if people are actually looking at this and looking at the numbers and the cause and effect of the numbers. I mean, I think that is, Bruce, you're in real estate, so I know you're seeing different things, and I did my homework, and I also have to say the communications that are out there on the different servers, because if you bounce to the server in Warren versus the server in Long Hill, you get different information from the internet. If you go over to Germany, you get different information. Out in California, you get different information. It's like the communication isn't appropriate out there.
I
also.
apologize. The reason I grinned there is that sounded like a line from Stripes when John Candy goes, if we were in Germany.
Well,
But-
it's true. I was bouncing all over. I put a VPN up and said, okay, let's really get the data. And it's all different.
I completely agree with you. The cost of living is rising, and we need to combat it somehow, right? So, it takes, $15-16 million for the municipality. It takes another 15 million for the K-8 district. It takes another, I think, what's this high school budget, 30-something million dollars, right? And I don't know I forget what our percentage is, right? the schools are a cost center. They don't really have a revenue capability, right? They can send some kids, they could try to attract some kids to the district, but generally speaking, they're a cost center. So the more infrastructure and teachers they have, the larger the cost. It's very simple. The township has a revenue capability. So, for example, the cell phone tower down at the DPW facility brings revenue into the town at the tune of $50,000 a year, right? So we have a revenue capability, right? But the fact is, and Guy mentioned it, is that 90% of every tax dollar is paid by the residential homeowner. It's only 9% of the tax bill that's paid by the commercial homeowner, right? And then 1% is really open space. So the problem we have, in my opinion, is, you know, we need to grow the revenue to offset the property taxes. Well, how do we do that, right? Do we put in a hydroelectric plant on the river? Do we build a solar farm? Do we add more cell towers? Do we put a toll plaza to charge everybody from Basking Ridge who wants to go to Summit along Valley Road? I mean, how do we grow revenue, right? Well, one option we can is to grow the commercial rateable base, right? So that 9% becomes a bigger piece of the budget, right? That's one way to do it. But that has downsides as well, right? When you have more commercial ratables, you have more traffic, you have stress on the infrastructure, right? Also, some people don't want it. They like the nice, quiet, small community we have, and we're a bedroom community. And that's great. I love it too. But what's the balance? What's the answer? And not enough folks like yourself come forward and say, you know, here's an idea, here's a direction, here's a strategy. How about this? Because I would love to hear them. I really think that we need to figure out a better way to grow the revenue side so the pressure comes off the residential homeowner. I really do.
Okay, all those people that like this sleepy little town, as long as they have 1.2, I think I figured it out, for the average person in their retirement account, we're good to go. We can keep it a sleepy little town. I have no problems with that.
Yeah.
But I don't want to hear anybody crying poor mouth down the road, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Okay? So I think that really needs to be considered, because the one meeting, there was somebody talking about Section 8s as far as bringing them into town, and I can tell you this.
Section 8 low-income housing you're talking
Yeah.
about? Okay.
I also realized that there is a number of households that are over occupancy level. Okay, if you drive around, you can see there's one house right on Valley Road that has like 20 cars at it. And that is fine, I don't care, but that also burdens the school district, especially if there's 10 or 15 kids
Absolutely.
coming out of that house.
It absolutely does.
So there's got to be boundaries on everything.
Yeah.
And that's where my thing comes into play. Because when I looked at the average savings in the state of New Jersey for retirement, it was $45,000. Okay?
Really?
Yes, really.
Oh, that's terrible.
And then on top of that, they're saying 50% of the people don't have it. So, okay, now you're saying about 90,000. I went on to Vanguard, they said 232. I think we're getting ready for another bumpy road in real estate, in the township, and in taxes. It's not just one area, which is gonna lead into corporate problems too. So,
I mean, oddly enough, I was just at an Otto seminar. Otto is a widely respected appraiser in New Jersey. He puts on seminars for continuing education for real estate agents, and he said that New Jersey's experiencing probably the best real estate market it's had in 10 or 12 years, and it should continue into 2018 was his message. So from a real estate perspective, unfortunately, it's a good time to sell your home, right? Because it's a seller's market.
well, if you hit Zillow, and depending on what server you're on, we have a lot of houses in pre-foreclosure in town. So, I mean, I don't know what date.
Right, but our
it is.
inventory right now is really low. It's only about 4.5 months of inventory, so that's a good market.
Okay. Which,
Okay.
As long as you're making some plans.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
He used his 3 minutes already, didn't he?
No.
Me again. Bruce asked for ideas. I heard last week that we should have more laws because that would generate more revenue. Specifically, if a police officer writes a ticket in the handicap parking zone and writes it against the state ordinance, we get half the fine back and the state keeps the other half. If he writes it against a local handicap parking ordinance, we keep 100%. Is there a loophole here that if we had more laws that superseded the state law, we could keep more of the fines for ourselves?
Dennis, you can't because the state tries to play, what they call it?
Preemption.
Preemption. They preempt everything, so any ordinance we try to pass, they'll say it's similar to a criminal statute and you can't have it.
Yep.
Unless you're in an urban area or a shore town where it's free-for-all, you can do whatever you want, and they keep all the money down there. But in
Well,
rest
we-
of New Jersey, you can't do that.
We could zone for hotels, because there's a hotel tax that stays
No,
to the
I'm
local
talking about,
municipality.
yeah, I know that, but I'm talking about fines.
No, the revenue on like fines for for 2C violation, municipal court, that the cop writes a ticket, and probably more than half of it goes to the state.
Wow.
So we don't keep much of it as a town.
We used to have a number of local police ordinances that all had to be repealed because the state made us because of
What about
preemption.
something like on-street parking, which is strictly a local issue? Do we keep those fines?
I have no idea. You have to ask Ann Naylor, she'll know.
Yeah, I don't know.
At any rate, there's nickels and dimes that we could get by just making sure our police are writing the correct tickets. Not that I want to encourage that, but
Thank you, Dennis.
You might be a first
Yes.
beneficiary of it.
Motion for exec with no further
So moved.
action taken, please.
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
No action, or how do you?
I said no
No
action.
action, you did, yep.
1-0 Yankees, Debbie.
Yes.